Revealed, Millionaire stunned by touching encounter with struggling cleaner and baby in the rain. Mark Whitman strode through the slick, bustling streets of San Francisco, his mind racing with thoughts of the pivotal business meeting that could change his company's future. The rain began to fall a sprinkle at first, but as he glanced up at the darkening sky, the drizzle transformed into a torrential downpour. He clutched his briefcase, feeling the weight of his success like a badge of honor. But as the clouds unleashed their fury, he realized he wasn't just soaked, he was suddenly lost in a world that felt foreign amidst chaos. Rushing to find shelter, he skidded to a halt at the sight of a young woman, Mia Johnson, barely more than a slip of a girl, drenched to the bone, struggling to shield her wailing baby with a thin, worn-out jacket. Her eyes, wide with panic and despair, pierced through him. I need," she stammered, her voice trembling. The raw fear of a mother trying to protect her child struck Mark hard, slicing through the fog of his privilege. In a moment of unexpected kindness, he lifted his designer umbrella and extended it toward her. "Come on, get under here," he urged, guiding her to the overhang of a nearby building. The touch of her cold, drenched hand against his stirred something deep within him, a fleeting connection to the human experience he often overlooked. Mia looked up, a glimmer of gratitude dancing in her tear-filled eyes. They huddled together, and she shared her story between hiccuping sobs. "Life had not been easy for her," she said. "I clean the offices in this building," she explained, her voice breaking. "I work late nights and hardly make ends meet. My grandmother, she raised me. She's a decorated veteran, and now she is sick." Each word resonated like a drum in the silence between them. Mark felt the shift in his chest, a tightness he hadn't noticed before. With each story that poured from her lips, layers of indifference he had worn slipped away. She had turned down a promotion to stay by her grandmother's side. It was a sacrifice that churned Mark's stomach, making his own decisions feel stark and hollow. How could he ever complain about a long workday when Mia pulled herself up from the ground every morning, just to survive? Before they could continue, Mark's friends approached, scoffing at the sight of a billionaire sharing an umbrella with a struggling single mother. "What's the big deal, Mark? She's just a cleaner," one snickered. Mia flinched at the comment, a silence hanging heavy like the rain. But Mark felt an anger bubbling beneath the surface. "She's a human being. This is a person, not just a label." His voice was a roar, startling even him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The rain slowed, but the storm within him raged on. As Mia's story gained attention in the city, her courage shone brightly. The community rallied, a testament to resilience against a backdrop of economic disparities. Standing there, Mark wrestled with an important realization: he could choose to act to disrupt his comfortable life and reach out. The encounter left a spark in his heart, questioning the worth he had linked to wealth and success. The city around them pulsed with life, but within him a voice whispered, would he let this moment slip away? Would he return to that penthouse filled with emptiness, or step headfirst into a journey into a world that needed him more than ever? The storm had passed, but a different kind of storm was brewing inside Mark. What would he do next? Mark stood there, the rain now tapering off as the sun began to break through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the chilly streets. Yet the warmth on his face couldn't reach the turmoil roiling within him. He stole a glance at Mia, who was still clutching her baby, holding him close as if he were the only anchor in her world. The sight tugged at him, igniting a fire he had long buried beneath the polished surface of his life. "Mia," he began, his voice softer now, "could I help you somehow? I mean, and forgive me if this sounds presumptuous, but perhaps we could talk more." Maybe I can help with whatever you might need? The words hung in the air, charged with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. He felt vulnerable offering such a thing, a glimpse into a world he had barely brushed against. Mia looked up, disbelief flickering across her face. It was as if the sun breaking through the clouds had illuminated something more in her, the possibility of change. You'd really want to help me? I mean, people like you don't usually care about people like me, she stammered, the skepticism mingling with a glimmer of hope. Mark's heart ached at her words, a pain that felt both foreign and painfully familiar. I was just like that, thinking my world was all that mattered, he admitted, his gaze dropping briefly to the ground. But you've opened my eyes, Mia. I don't want to be like that anymore. With those words, he could see her walls begin to lower, just a bit. She shifted her baby to a more comfortable position before speaking again. I don't know what you could do for me, Mark. I just want to keep my grandmother fed and keep a roof over our heads. He nodded, consumed by her honesty. Let's figure it out together. Maybe I can help you find a better job. Something where you don't have to work late nights and can spend more time with your family. The idea slipped out of him like a breath he had been holding in, a wishful thought made tangible. That's a lot to ask, she replied, cautious skepticism threading through her voice. Yet, he could see it, there was a flicker of possibility in her eyes. In that moment, hope blossomed like a flower pushing through a crack in the pavement. Just then, Mark's friends, who had temporarily faded into the background, erupted back into the scene with laughter that sliced through the fragile intimacy. You really think you can save her, Mark? What's next, moving her into your penthouse? One of them sneered, and even as Mia flinched again at the derisive tone, something snapped inside him. Enough! He yelled, his voice booming once more as he turned to face them. This is no joke. She's not some charity case, she's a mother and a survivor. You don't understand anything about what that means. The tension crackled around them, and for a moment, the world narrowed down to this unexpected confrontation. His friends exchanged glances, a blend of confusion and irritation evident in their expressions. But behind them, Mark felt Mia's hand tighten around his, a silent acknowledgement of solidarity. It had transformed from just a simple act of kindness to a declaration of purpose. As the rain finally ceased, leaving the air cool and fresh, Mark turned to Mia, a fire ignited in his heart. Let's grab some coffee. We can talk about what's next for you and for me. She hesitated, glancing toward her sleeping baby, uncertainty lingering. What if you regret this? You don't even know me. I'm ready to learn, he said earnestly. Let's find out together, starting right now. And as they stepped out from under the overhang, the sun shining brightly, both felt a shift in their destinies. A connection had formed, one that neither had expected but that both could not ignore. But just as they began to walk, a distant siren echoed through the city, a reminder of the challenges ahead, and Mark wondered, was he ready for the journey that lay ahead? As they walked side by side, the sun casting warm rays over them, Mark couldn't shake the weight of his friends' laughter from his mind. The echoes of their jeers clashed starkly against the hum of new possibilities. He risked a glance at Mia, who was now cradling her baby closer, protecting him from the jabs of the world. So, where do you usually go for coffee? He asked, trying to keep the atmosphere light, eager to ease the tension he felt in the air. Just a little diner around the corner, she replied, her voice steadying despite the uncertainty still present in her eyes. They make the best pancakes too, if you're interested. Just sayin'. A hint of a smile danced on her lips, and he couldn't help but grin back. Pancakes are a classic. I'm game, he replied, feeling the warmth of her humor. They strolled along the sidewalk, the initial chill of rain giving way to a crisp, rejuvenating breeze. As they approached the diner, the vibrant colors of the neon sign flickered in anticipation. Mia hesitated just outside the door, glancing toward the entrance as if it held her dreams and fears in equal measure. What if they recognize me? I mean, it's been a while since I had a decent meal here, she confided, her brow furrowing. Why would they recognize you? Mark asked, surprised at her self-doubt. You're just another customer. Just a mom trying to find her way. I guess. She hesitated but then took a deep breath, her expression showing a flicker of bravado. Okay, let us go. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with chatter and the comforting smell of fried food. They settled into a cozy booth, a chipped laminate table between them. Mark caught her eye as she placed her baby in a makeshift cradle of her arms. Something about the way she did it and instinctive care spoke volumes. Tell me more about your life, Mia, he prompted gently, cradling his coffee cup like a lifeline. She looked down, her features briefly shadowed by the memories she drew upon. It's not glamorous, she stated quietly. My grandmother is sick. I work nights cleaning offices just to pay the bills. I don't get much time with my son, and it just feels endless, you know? Mark's heart twisted. The reality of her situation was daunting. When do you last remember feeling hopeful? He asked, hoping to pry open a sliver of light in the darkness she faced. She took her time with the question. Honestly? Probably when he was born. It was like everything changed, you know? But now it's just keeping my head above water. Her gaze was wistful, almost pleading. Maybe we can change that, Mark said, wondering how to navigate the depths of her despair. Let us take it step by step. I mean about the job you said you wanted to keep your family fed. How about I help you find something more stable? Something during the day? The words poured out, a flurry of ideas bouncing in his mind. Mia looked at him, her eyes shimmering with something he couldn't quite decipher. You'd really do that for me? Her voice was a tentative mix of hope and disbelief. Absolutely, he asserted, feeling the strength of his commitment begin to blossom within him. You deserve more than just making do. But just as he thought they had breached a chasm, a pounding noise erupted from the entrance. A team of police officers burst in, scanning the diner with sharp glances. The atmosphere shifted, a murmur of concern rippling through the room. Mark's heart raced as he caught Mia's worried expression. What is going on? She whispered, her body tensing. Maybe it's nothing, he reassured, though his own unease grew. Yet deep down, he sensed that whatever was happening outside had the potential to unravel everything they'd just started, and he couldn't shake the fear that their newfound connection might be put to the ultimate test before it had truly begun. Calculating footsteps were approaching, he felt the weight of inevitability bearing down on them. What trouble were they stepping into? The tension in the diner was palpable, like a tightly wound spring ready to snap. As the police officers fanned out, Mark noticed the way Mia's fingers gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles turning white. He reached across, placing his hand over hers in an attempt to offer comfort. Just breathe, he whispered, trying to mask his own rising anxiety. She nodded, but her eyes darted around the diner, searching for any sign of danger. A couple of patrons stole glances at the officers but quickly returned to their meals, tension hanging in the air like an unwelcome guest. What do you think they want? Mia asked, her voice trembling slightly. Maybe just a routine check, Mark replied, though he wasn't convinced. His eyes flickered toward the officers, their serious expressions setting off alarms in his chest. As if sensing their scrutiny, one of the officers approached their booth, a burly man with a deep voice. Excuse me, folks. His eyes fell on Mia. We need to ask some questions about a recent incident in the area. Are you Mia Jacobs? Mark's heart sank. The sound of Mia's name felt like a thunderclap in the quiet diner. He felt her stiffen under his touch. I am, Mia stammered, her earlier bravado now a fragile thing. Can you come with us, Miss Jacobs? We just need a moment of your time. Before Mia could respond, Mark interjected. What's this about? She's just trying to enjoy her meal. Can't you see that? He realized he was raising his voice, the urgency clawing at him. The officer looked between them, his expression softening ever so slightly. "I understand, sir. But we're only asking her to clarify a few things. It's important." Mia glanced up at Mark, her eyes wide and fearful. I don't understand. What's happening?" "Stay calm," he whispered, his grip tightening on her hand. "Let me go with you." The officer hesitated but then nodded. "All right. Just follow us outside." Mia slowly stood up, cradling her baby against her chest. Mark stood, keeping a protective stance beside her. As they moved toward the door, the diner grew eerily silent, every eye watching them intently. He felt a surge of frustration rising within him. This was supposed to be a moment of connection between them, not one of interrogation. Outside, the afternoon light felt muted, shadows stretching across the pavement. The officers had gathered in a tight circle, and Mark could feel the weight of an unseen audience pressing in on them. He battled the urge to shout at the world for intruding on their moment. "Mia, please, it's going to be okay," Mark said softly as they approached the group. One of the officers began speaking again, and Mark focused in on the words coming out, urgency piercing through the banter inside him. "We have reason to believe that someone matching your description was seen near a domestic disturbance last week. No one is accusing you of anything, but we need to know if you witnessed anything unusual." Mia's expression transformed. I didn't see anything. I was at home with my baby that night." Mark noticed the flicker of defiance in her eyes, a spark he hadn't seen before. He stepped in closer, placing himself between her and the officers. "She's not going to be your scapegoat. You can't just pull people in without cause." The officer's brow furrowed slightly, but Mark's protectiveness over Mia felt like a barrier between her and the tension of the world outside. They needed to resolve this quickly. As Mia's fear began to shift, another sound echoed from the far end of the street, a familiar motorcycle roar growing louder. Mark's heart raced even more, fear coursing through him. Who was coming? Mia turned abruptly, her eyes narrowing and darting far down the street. And with that, a moment of realization hit him, mingling dread and hope. Whoever was approaching could change everything for them. Would it be help, or trouble? The question lingered, heavy in the charged air. The roar of the motorcycle grew louder as a figure emerged from the end of the street. Mark squinted, trying to make out the details against the backdrop of the afternoon sun. The bike's chrome glinted, and within moments, Mark recognized the rider. "Jake!" he exclaimed, relief flooding through him. Mia's eyes widened, a flicker of bewilderment crossing her face. "You know him?" Before Mark could answer, Jake dismounted, a tall, rugged man with a confident stride. He approached them with a frown etched across his features, cutting through the tension like a knife. "What's going on?" The officers turned their gaze to Jake, briefly caught off guard by his arrival. Mark felt an unexpected surge of hope. Jake had always been a protector, fiercely loyal to his friends. He'd come through for Mark in tough times, maybe he could do the same for Mia. "Just asking some questions," one of the officers said, his voice stiff. "Yeah, I can see that," Jake replied, his tone dropping into a low growl. "But why are you pulling her in? She hasn't done anything wrong." "I didn't witness anything, I swear," Mia interjected, her voice small but firm. "I was at home that night." Mark felt the buoyancy of hope begin to lift the weight on his chest. With Jake there, standing by them, it felt as though they had a fighting chance. "Let's just calm down," Jake said, placing a reassuring hand on Mia's shoulder. "Maybe you can answer a few questions without treating her like a suspect." One of the officers shifted uneasily, glancing at his partner. "We're only following protocol. It's not personal." "Sure it isn't," Jake shot back, crossing his arms. "But she's not a criminal. She's a mother trying to live her life." Mia glanced at Mark, and he saw the flicker of confidence begin to bloom in her green eyes. She straightened her posture, her grip on her baby tightening slightly. The sound of the officers' voices became a backdrop, less daunting with Jake there in front of them. A moment stretched out as the officers exchanged looks, weighing their next move. Mark held his breath, praying they would back off. Then, the lead officer sighed, frustration creeping into his expression. "We're just doing our jobs. Can you work with us, Miss Jacobs? Any detail could help." Mark's fear bubbled back to the surface. The more they pressed, the more on edge Mia became. "Why don't we find somewhere private for you to share what you know?" Jake suggested, his voice calm but insistent. Mia nodded, the determination returning to her features. "Fine, but only if you promise not to leave my side," she said, looking up at Mark and then at Jake. "No way I'm letting you out of my sight," Mark replied, a fierce resolve settling in his gut. Just then, the police radio crackled to life, the static cutting through the tension. The officers turned slightly, listening intently. For a brief moment, it seemed the world around them paused, the impending storm of revelations hanging in the air. Mark felt the moment shift, the change in the atmosphere thick with anticipation. He knew something big was happening. It felt as though they were on the edge of understanding something that would change everything. He exchanged glances with Mia, who had momentarily forgotten her fear. "Stay close," he whispered, realizing they were possibly closer to finding answers than they thought. But as the officers began to hurriedly converse, another sound rang out, this time a frantic voice. "Mia! Jake! Over here!" Mark turned abruptly, heart racing again. Who else was calling out for them? And with that, the stakes grew even higher. Would this new voice bring relief, or add to the chaos? A figure emerged from the shadows, rushing toward them, desperation etched on her face. Mark's heart stumbled. It was Lisa, an old high school acquaintance, but he barely recognized her now, her clothes clinging to her from the rain, a wind-blown mess of panic. "Mia, please. You have to listen to me," Lisa shouted, her breath coming in heaving gasps. "They're looking for you." "What?" Mia's brow furrowed, confusion mingling with fear. She instinctively stepped closer to Mark, her baby secured protectively in her arms, as if trying to shield herself from the storm brewing around them. "Those police officers," Lisa continued, urgency lacing her words. "There's something they're not telling you. Just trust me on this." Mark exchanged a glance with Jake, who looked equally concerned but alert. They weren't just dealing with the local police anymore. The mention of deeper involvement sent a chill coursing through him. One of the officers turned at the sound of Lisa's frantic tone. "Ma'am, stay back," he commanded, taking a step toward her. "This is not your business." "No, it is," Lisa insisted, eyes wild. "Mia is in danger. They're trying to blame her for something she didn't do." The lead officer's expression hardened. "That's enough. If you have information, you can share it formally. Right now, you're interfering with an investigation." "No. You're protecting the wrong person." Lisa's voice broke, desperation creeping into her tone. "I saw what happened the night of the incident. And it was not her." Mark felt the weight of her words press down on him. The night had always been a blur, flashes of chaos, confusion. If only they could grasp the truth buried within the darkness. "What do you mean?" Mia asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What happened that night?" But before Lisa could reply, one of the officers raised his hand, demanding silence. "That's enough. We can't entertain wild accusations." Mia's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Mark saw her resolve transform, sparking fire in her eyes. "If there's something I need to know, you have to tell me. I'm not going to let them take me without knowing the truth." The atmosphere crackled with tension. It was as if everyone held their breath, waiting for the storm to pass or for it to break. "Listen," Jake said quietly but firmly, trying to maintain calm. We need to figure this out. If Mia is in danger, we have to protect her. Whatever happened that night, we will uncover it together. Mark's heart raced. He felt the camaraderie surrounding them, the bond that only crises could form. They were in this together, and they couldn't let fear win. The officers looked conflicted, their authority waning against the mounting urgency. But just as they might have softened, the radio squawked again, a message crackling through the static. Units in vicinity, all available officers respond to reports of a disturbance downtown. The lead officer cursed under his breath, then glanced at his partner. "We'll be back," he said to Mia, his tone betraying a hint of uncertainty. As the officers left, Lisa stepped forward, desperation lacing every word. "You need to trust me. I know things that could change everything. Can we talk somewhere safe?" Mark nodded instinctively, instinct driving him forward. "Yes, let us find somewhere away from prying eyes." They began moving, with Jake keeping an eye out in all directions while Lisa led the way. Every step echoed the stakes they faced. Mia held her baby tighter, her protective instinct shining through. Questions raced through Mark's mind. What did Lisa really know? Was Mia truly in danger? The shadows were deepening, but perhaps they were finally on the brink of uncovering something that could change their lives forever. As they reached an old coffee shop, its neon sign flickering more than illuminated, Mark felt a chill trace his spine. Lisa turned to face him, her eyes glistening with urgency. "You have to believe me, it's about the man who was found." Mark held his breath, realizing the question that lurked in the dark. What had they stumbled into, and would the truth bring them salvation or doom? Lisa glanced around, her eyes darting as she urged everyone to huddle closer in the dim light of the coffee shop. The air inside was stale, a blend of burnt coffee and dampness, but it felt safer here. In this cramped space, away from the chaos outside, there was a quiet seriousness that hung over them. "Mia, listen," Lisa began, her voice a whisper now. "I know you're scared, but you need to understand that your life is at stake. What I saw that night, it wasn't right." Mia's face blanched, her fingers tightening around the blanket that swaddled her baby. "What do you mean? Please, just tell me." Taking a deep breath, Lisa leaned in closer. "There was an argument before it all went down. I didn't get a clear view, but I heard someone calling your name and then, it happened. I didn't think anything of it until the news broke, and they started talking about who they were looking for." She paused, her breath hitching. "It was you, Mia. And they were so quick to paint you as the villain." Mark shifted, the tension curling like a noose around his heart as the pieces started fitting together in his mind. "What did they say?" he asked, urgency slipping into his tone. "They said," Lisa hesitated, swallowing hard. "They said someone saw you leave the scene. But it wasn't you. I swear it." Mia's eyes froze in disbelief. "How can I prove that? I had my baby with me. I would never do anything like this." "Then we have to find evidence," Jake chimed in, his brow furrowed. "There must be CCTV footage or something. If you were in the area, it could clear your name." Mark could see Mia's resolve building, but also the fear bubbling beneath. "I can't let them take my baby from me," she murmured, her voice almost breaking. "Listen," Lisa said, her tone sharp with determination. "Finding the truth about that night may be the only way to keep your family safe. We need to face this together. But we have to hurry." Mark felt fear claw deeper into his chest as he considered the stakes. Time was slipping away from them. They had to act, and quickly. "What's our next move?" he asked, his voice steady, trying to reassure Mia with his presence. Lisa's eyes lit up with a flicker of hope. "I know a guy. He's a tech expert. If anyone can pull the footage, it's him. We just need to get there without being seen." "Tonight?" Mark questioned, his heart racing at the thought of the dangers that lurked around each corner. "Yes, Now, Lisa replied. We can't hesitate. They might already be onto this. Jake nodded firmly, then let us get moving. As they stepped out into the pouring rain again, the chaotic city streets echoed with unsettling noises. The once safe coffee shop now felt like a fortress they'd abandoned. Mia's heart raced too, fear gripping her, but she was resolute. She had to protect her baby and herself. They moved quickly, covered by the heavy shadows of the night, their breaths visible in the cold air. Thoughts of what they might discover tormented and excited Mark all at once. Would the truth help them find freedom, or would it only lead them further into the storm? As they turned the corner, a figure loomed in the distance. Mark's stomach dropped. Wait, is that? But before he could finish, a voice called out, slicing through the night like a knife, Lisa. Stop right there. Mia's heartbeat drummed in her ears as she clutched her baby closer. They were being hunted again. Just when they thought they could take control, the night had other plans. What would happen next? Would the truth slip through their fingers once more? Lisa froze, her heart pounding as she turned to face the figure advancing through the rain, a silhouette barely illuminated by the flickering streetlight. Mark instinctively moved closer to Mia, instinctively protecting her and the baby, while Jake positioned himself between his friends and the potential threat. Who is it? Mia breathed, her voice trembling as she tightened her grip on the blanket. Someone who shouldn't be here, Lisa warned, her eyes narrowing as she tried to make out the person lurking in the shadows. Each raindrop seemed to amplify the rising tension, filling the air with a heavy silence that buzzed in their ears. Lisa. It was the voice of a man Mark recognized. Brandon, an informant who often hung out at the same bars they frequented. But tonight, Brandon carried an unusual aura, one that hinted at urgency rather than camaraderie. We need to talk. Now. No way, Lisa snapped, stepping back defensively. You're not here for friendly advice. Mark felt the air thicken with mistrust. What do you want, Brandon? We don't have time to mess around, he interjected, keeping his voice low but firm. It's about Mia, Brandon said, his brow drenched in rain, making him look far more disheveled than usual. I know what happened that night. You're not safe. They're not just after her. They're coming for all of you. Mia's eyes widened as panic set in. What do you mean? Who's coming for us? They think you know something you don't, Brandon rushed. Look, I can explain, but we need to get out of here. I'll take you somewhere safe. Why should we trust you? Jake interjected, taking a bold step forward. The glint in his eyes was fierce, protective. Because I've got a lead on the footage. I overheard some guys talking about it. But if you stay out here, they'll find you before you get a chance to make any moves. We can't have them catching wind of this, Brandon snapped back, urgency etched across his features. Mia felt the sky darken above her, not just from the clouds but from the fear wrapping tighter around her. I don't want to leave my home or my baby. Her eyes shimmered with desperation, and Mark could see she was on the edge of breaking. Then stay, Brandon said, annoyance seeping into his tone. But you'll have to answer for all this. Your name's already on the lips of the wrong people, Mia. You need to decide if fighting is worth taking that risk. Lisa's eyes flicked between Mia and Brandon, conflicted. Listen, this isn't just about you. It's about all of us. We need to act like a team. The more we delay, the more chances we give them. A long pause hung in the air, filled with the sound of rain. Mark could feel the weight of their decisions pressing down on him like the heavy humidity. So, what's it going to be? He asked, looking directly at Mia. She hesitated, her heart torn. I want to be safe. But I can't just run. Running means we're still together, Lisa whispered, trying to soothe her. We won't let them take you away from us, Mia. We'll figure it out together. Brandon began shifting restlessly, glancing over his shoulder nervously. Time's running short. I know a place, an old garage. It used to be mine. We'll figure it out from there. Mia took a deep breath, steadying herself. Okay. Let us do this. As they prepared to follow Brandon into the night, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that stepping into the unknown might lead them deeper into danger. The darkness outside felt alive, teeming with threats, but they had no choice. They were in this together. Just as they turned to follow him, the lights of a police car swept through the street, illuminating them in harsh contrast. Mark's heart raced. Move! He shouted, but as they stumbled forward, the reality hit him. They were still so close to the edge of disaster, the truth just out of reach, and at that moment, lurking within the shadows, they had no idea who would come for them next or what it meant for their chances at survival. They dashed around the corner, hearts racing, the sound of their feet splashing in puddles mingling with the relentless rain. Mark didn't look back. The police lights painted the walls in flashes of blue and red, casting eerie shadows that seemed to chase them. Brandon, where's this garage? Mark called out, trying to keep his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. Just a few blocks away. We need to move fast, they'll be looking for you. Brandon shouted over his shoulder, urgency lacing every word. Mia clutched the baby close to her chest, her breath quickening as they turned down another narrow alley. She could feel the warmth of the child's body against her, a small comfort in this chaos. Why is this happening? She murmured, glancing at Lisa for reassurance. What do they think I know? Lisa's eyes were resolute, a flicker of strength igniting within her as she replied, We'll figure it out, Mia. Just hold on tight. The rain continued to pour, drenching their clothes, but it seemed somehow soothing against the tension that hung in the air. They reached a heavy, rusted metal door at the back of an old warehouse. Brandon paused, breathing heavily. This is it. Get inside quickly. Mark pushed the door open, releasing a creak that echoed into the cavernous interior. Darkness swallowed them as they stepped inside, and Mark squinted, trying to adjust to the dim light filtering through a cracked window. The smell of oil and damp wood hung heavily in the air, almost comforting. Brandon moved briskly across the space, his movements sharp and deliberate. We'll need to barricade the door. If they find us, he didn't finish the thought, and an uneasy silence fell over them. Mia shivered, both from the cold and from a sinking fear. What exactly did you hear, Brandon? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, running a hand over his drenched hair. I overheard some guys talking about a tape. They think it shows more than you know. They think you saw something important that night. What night? Mark pressed, frustration bubbling under the surface. They needed clarity if they were going to escape this nightmare. The night, the real night of the accident. There's a lot more that went down than just what they said. I can't go into all the details now, but they're coming for anyone left who might tie things back. Mia's heart dropped as she realized the gravity of it all. So I'm being hunted over something I don't even remember? Yeah, Brandon said, his face grave. And if you don't start remembering, they'll make sure you regret it. Jake stood near the door, eyes darting around. So what do we do now? Hide out here? Wait for you to give us more info? Brandon shook his head. We need more than just time. We need a plan, something drastic. A quiet fear lingered, settling like dust around them, weighing down their resolve. The sound of rain pattering on the roof began to feel like a ticking clock, counting down to an inevitable confrontation. Mark glanced at Mia, who still held the baby tightly. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty, igniting a fierce protectiveness in him. As if sensing the tension in the air, Lisa stepped closer to Mia, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. We'll get through this, Mia. We're stronger together. Whatever happens next. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the garage, silencing Lisa. The door shuddered on its hinges. Did you lock it? Mia's voice trembled, the fear palpable. Brandon turned, eyes wide. No one was supposed to follow us. Mark tightened his fists, determination flooding his veins. They had to be ready. The storm outside was nothing compared to the chaos that waited other side of the door, and as another crash reverberated through the dark, they all realized they were about to face something that would change everything. What it would become, none of them knew, but it was coming for them fast. With hearts pounding, they fell into a tense silence as the door trembled again under the weight of the impact. "Get ready," Mark hissed, scanning the shadows. He could feel the urgency thrumming in his veins. They couldn't let fear paralyze them. Mark stepped forward, bravely positioning himself in front of the others. "Mia, stay with the baby, all right?" he urged quietly, his voice steady though adrenaline coursed through him. The flicker of fear in her eyes twisted his heart. "We're going to get through this." Another thud against the door sent a jolt through Mia, her grip tightening around her sleeping child. She nodded, her lips pressed into a thin line. Lisa moved closer, wild determination fueling her eyes. "Whatever happens, don't back down," she whispered, giving Mia a reassuring squeeze. Jake stood ready, fists clenched, as Brandon prowled toward the heavy door. "We've got to find a way out before they break in," he said, urgency coloring his tone. "Maybe there's another exit?" Mark's mind raced. "There's got to be something we can use to barricade the door," he muttered, scanning the dimly lit space filled with old, forgotten tools and broken machinery. With a quick glance, he spotted a rusted metal rod. "This." He lunged forward, grabbing it. "We can reinforce the door. It'll buy us some time." Just as he lifted the rod, the door splintered again, and a menacing crack echoed throughout the garage. "They're getting in. Move!" Jake yelled, positioning himself beside Mark. The two heaved the metal rod against the door, wedging it into place, but the tactics were desperate and uncertain. A voice thundered from outside, the forceful approach ringing through the walls. "Mia! We know you're in there. Open up." It was one of the officers, but this time, the tone was different, menacing, filled with authority. "We just want to talk. No harm will come if you cooperate." "We can't trust them," Mia whispered fiercely as panic threatened to overwhelm her. They think I'm a criminal." "Just stay calm," Mark said, locking eyes with her, willing her to breathe. "If they get inside we don't know what they'll do." Brandon's voice rose above the din. "We need to get that footage. If they don't find it, they'll turn on us. It's the only way to prove your innocence." Mia's eyes flickered with realization. "I have to remember more, I need to focus." Her breath steadied, the determination returning. Another crash rattled the door, breaking her concentration. Mark clenched his jaw. "We have to deal with them, but we can't just open the door." Suddenly, something clicked within him. "Wait! The windows!" He rushed to a grimy window at the far end, barely visible through the rain-splattered glass. "There's no way out there," Brandon exclaimed, halting Mark with his voice. "You'll be spotted. It's either this or face whatever is waiting at the door," Mark shot back. Mia moved beside him, fear evident in her eyes yet flickering with courage. "No matter what happens, I can't let them take my baby." With heavy breaths, they approached the window, the unwashed glass bearing witness to their desperate fight. Mark glanced back at Mia, their fates intertwined. "Okay. On the count of 3, we push together, and then we'll climb out. We get to the alleyway and then figure out our next move." Lisa and Jake nodded, stepping into position. Mark counted slowly, feeling the gravity of the moment. 1, 2, 3. Together they heaved against the window, the old rotting frame groaning under pressure before it shattered outward. "Go!" Mark shouted. The broken pane clinked to the floor, the echoes piercing the night as they scrambled toward the opening. Mia climbed out first, cradling her baby. "Keep him safe," she cried, urgency in her voice surging through the group. They climbed out hastily, landing in the chilly night air. Mark felt the rain drenching them anew, but it wasn't despair now. It felt like freedom, a roaring chance to escape. The alley behind them was narrow, darkness looming ahead. "We need to move fast, stay close," he urged, glancing back at the warehouse, anticipating that the officers would burst out any moment. They sprinted into the shadows, following Lisa as she led the way. "I know a shortcut to the tech guy's place. We can get the footage," she called over her shoulder, determination pulsing through her. Mark remained vigilant, heart thumping into his ears as they navigated through the backstreets, weaving between shadows. Mia's breath hitched as they topped a hill, spotting a flickering light ahead. "That's it. That's South's place," she shouted, her expression brightening. "We'll make it." But just then, the hot rush of lights swept through the darkness behind them. "They're coming!" Jake yelled, panic brewing in his eyes. "Run!" Mark urged. They dashed forward, adrenaline igniting their steps, throwing their fears aside. Finally, reaching the door, Lisa hammered on it frantically. "Dean! Open up!" The door swung open, revealing a scruffy figure with tousled hair, his eyes darting around the street. "What the hell? You're in trouble? Please, we need help!" Mia exclaimed, raw anxiety threading her voice. "It's about the footage from the night. Come in." Dean pulled them in quickly, shutting the door just as the sound of sirens echoed closer. Inside, the atmosphere crackled with desperate hope. But the stakes were high, and the chase wasn't over. "Tell me what you need," Dean urged, noticing the urgency in their eyes. As they hurried to explain, the tension transformed into a clarity of purpose. Together, they would unveil the truth. "Are you ready?" Mark asked Mia softly, his heart swelling with resolve. "We're going to get through this." Mia met his gaze, the fear still there but now mixed with the fire of determination. "Yes," she said, voice steadied. "I want to let them take my baby or my life." A nod passed between them, a silent pact of resilience. Now they were united, a force against the storm they would face together. And as the sirens faded into the distance, they felt the flicker of hope ignite within them, ready to unveil the truth no matter what it took. This was not just about escaping danger anymore, it was about reclaiming their lives, embracing their futures with strength, courage, and a bond stronger than anything the world could throw at them. Out of darkness, they emerged, ready to face whatever came next. Now that you've journeyed with them through this trial, it's your turn to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly matters. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Did it inspire you? And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.